Hello, my loves. I'm so glad to be here with you. It is an incredible honor. My name is Sierra Melker. I am a personal fulfillment advisor. I consider myself your conspirator in chief. I work with phenomenal leaders and change makers. And I work with these women specifically because you have a vision for the world and you are working for it. However, what I notice, and I'm observing both in myself and in the world, is our devotion to creating a better future actually takes a toll on us as individuals. It takes a toll on our bodies. It often takes a toll on our minds, our relationships, and our emotions. So I support phenomenal leaders and change makers by providing life-changing guidance so that you can flourish, because that's it. That's the best of life. And for you to bring your best, it has to start with you. I support leaders and change makers so that you can live, love, parent, lead, and thrive. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. I feel it in my bones, and I want to connect with you across time and space. And next year, I want to be standing in a room with you so that we can do this together. I know that you have a vision for the world. I know that you feel the future. You feel what it is that you're working towards and you want to create, because I do too. I believe in a world where we can be working towards that future on our own. We can be working on it together. We can be working on it in our families and in our work. And I believe that we can do that and still be happy and healthy and healing and growing individuals. That in order to make the future that we want and that we believe in, we do not have to, open ourselves, drain ourselves, and lose ourselves in order to build the future we believe in. If I could see you, I'd ask you to raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to give you a little bit of my story, just a tiny little snippet of the background. So for the first 15, almost 20 years of my career, I was an educator. I taught in every level of schooling, from preschool, high school, postgraduate education, until I really found my spot and I found my love connection with adolescents. And I became a high school teacher, and I taught all around the United States. And then I taught in various countries as an international educator. And I loved my work, and I really, really believed in what I was creating. I thought that I was teaching and changing the future. And so I worked really hard at it. I worked hours and hours and hours. Every night of the week, you could find me in my classroom until about 9 o'clock at night. I poured my heart and my soul into my work because I believed in what I was doing. I loved what I was doing. I loved who I was working with. And I also, actually, to be perfectly honest, I appreciated working so hard that I didn't have to deal with myself. And there were a lot of consequences to that. There were physical relationship consequences. I didn't eat well. I didn't take care of myself. I didn't sleep well, probably drank too much. And so from this place of love, I was losing myself and I was wounding myself. And that's not what it's about, and it's not sustainable. Even early on, one of my mentors said, you got to come first. And I hated that. I thought to do a good job, I had to give up myself. I really believed that. And I don't know exactly what kind of work you're doing, but this can express in any kind of way. It can express in a romantic relationship, certainly in a parenting relationship, and anyone who's building something for others. This is a really easy trap to fall into, an energetic trap. And this is where I want to focus today. This idea of where we're giving from, how we are giving of ourselves, and whether this is a replenished well, or if we are trying to give and give and give without ever filling ourselves. And so I want to talk about and think about filling your well first, as if your energy is this well and you can always pull water from it. There's always, somebody's thirsty. I've got this for you. I've got this love. I've got this energy. I've got this passion and this gift that I can share with you endlessly. So that is not where I was coming from. I was coming from an empty well. There was resentment, exhaustion. It was having effects on me personally and physically. And it was definitely coming out in my work. There were days that I was cranky and frustrated when what my students needed most from me was my patience, my understanding, and I'd lost what I'd gotten into the work for. So take a moment, take a deep breath, and check in with yourself right now, in this moment. Where is your energy? What's your energy level? Are you continually replenished? Or are you a little bit low? Do you have practices and beliefs? Screw practices. Underneath the practices are the beliefs about who you are, what you deserve, where your love and work comes from, and really where the reward is. Is the reward from selflessly giving continuously until you are a dry well? Or is the reward something else? I want to play with that a little bit. And my suggestion really is, well, it's not even a suggestion. Here's my question. I want you to imagine you have a well and you dip your cup in and you pour the water towards something, some energy, some work, some person who needs it. And then you try to go to the well, there's no water, and then you try to pour your cup for someone else, for some other project that needs your attention, for a friend that needs you, for your lover, for yourself. What happens with your empty cup? What's in there? You can't pour from an empty cup. So I want to deconstruct this image a little bit. And I think it's one that is probably not brand new to you. I trust that you've heard this idea before, but I want to break it down a little bit so that by the end of this conversation, you will actually have some tools and some ways to put some things into practice or to start shifting the way you relate to yourself and your work so that you can have a continuously refreshed, fulfilled well, and then you can give and give and give of your love because you are not giving your last sip. Does that make sense? One of the things that I work with, I hold women's circles and I coach and support women through this all the time. One of the things we really start with is the power of healing ourselves and transforming ourselves. And honestly, for myself, in the beginning, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to work. I wanted to work so hard, be the martyr, have someone else maybe give me a little nod, some socially acceptable self-sacrifice, so that would be enough. And if I don't have to deal with myself, if I don't have to recognize my own longings and my own struggle, even better. And so there was even an appeal in the beginning to disconnect from myself, to really, really disconnect. And if you are in a place or you are sensing disconnection with yourself or some niggle, some discontent, some little whisper or some unnamed yearning, this is exactly, we're in the right zone. And the reason I bring this up is not, it's not to call anybody out. But when we're giving of ourselves, when we're giving our energy and our time and our attention, if we are wounded, if we are still carrying the loss and the hurt that is actually inherent in being human, we all have it one way or another. Something has has affected us, whether we've inherited it from our mothers and from our society, from culture. We all come in to adulthood with something that needs to be unpacked. And so healing ourselves, actually, it's not selfish. It will have an impact. When you are willing to do your own work, it'll have an impact on all that you're bringing to all the people you affect, to your partner, to your family members, to your children, to the people that you serve. When you are healing, and I mean healing in the process, because it is a lifelong process. This is not to say you need to be fixed before you get there, because it's not true. When you are willing to heal yourself, to engage in the process of healing, there's a massive ripple effect, and it will be felt with everybody. My example is when I'm willing to heal myself, I can positively impact my daughter. I am not unintentionally passing down wounds, loss. I am not teaching her how to be wounded. I'm teaching her how to heal. So when we can build that belief that our needs are valuable, when we deserve the attention to be loved and healed, that's when we can begin to replenish our well. And that's when we can practice never giving from an empty cup. There are 3 things that I want to leave you with that are a little less metaphorical and a little less broad, so that you can walk away with 3 tangible ideas. And one is something that I definitely didn't practice in the beginning. Full disclosure, I had to learn this the hard way. I want you to think about your life's work. I want you to think about what it is that you're creating with your entire life. What's the passion? What's the drive? What are you building and leaving for generations to come? Take a couple of breaths. I want you to see if you can feel that in your bones. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it feel like for you, and what does it feel like for your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren? What is that world that you are building? Because that's what leaders do. We are making something that does not exist yet. Okay? So hang on to that vision of what it is that you're creating, and recognize that it's not done in a week. It's not done in a month or even a year. And I'm pretty impatient. I'm really, like, I want to know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done, done. But the greatest work takes some time. And I explored this idea, this concept, in a book that I just published, actually, called How Change Really Happens. And I highly recommend you check it out. I think it's great. It tells the story, it looks at nature, really, about how living and growing and struggle are actually essential parts of massive transformation. And so I'm happy to share more about that with you later. If you're interested, let me know. But I want you to think about what you're creating and stretch out the time scale. Because what happens is, if you're trying to create something too quickly, you're going to pour all of your energy in it. Maybe you're not going to see the results you're looking for, and you are going to burn out, or you're going to give up. You're going to feel like your efforts haven't made the difference. And it's really only that you're trying to squeeze too much out of the moment. If I could see you, I would want you to raise your hand and say, yep, okay, I recognize that. I've done that, whether it's in a big project, or I've done that in a relationship, or I've done that trying to bake bread and I put it in the oven too fast and it didn't rise. From the smallest endeavor to the largest endeavor, if you are in a hurry, when we're rushing through things, we don't see the results of our effort and we lose heart. And I can't have you lose heart, because the work that you're doing in the world is so important. It's so important. So I want you to take the seasonal view, the lifelong view, but the seasonal view. I want you to think about the seasons wherever you are on the planet. Maybe you don't experience the seasons exactly in the same way, but look at nature, and in a year, there are times of planting, there's times of growing, there's times of harvesting, and there's times of rest. all of those seasons are important. Those seasons in nature, those seasons in cultivating something. If you are only planting and you never give yourself time to harvest, or you're planting and you never give time for things to grow, there is nothing to harvest. Okay, if you put a seed in the ground and it sprouts this big and you're like, okay, I'm cutting it off, it's never going to grow into the tree that could feed you. So this vision of seasonal, that there is a time and a place for all things. There is a time for planting. That's when you're giving and you've got the ideas and you're putting things out there. But you have to let those ideas grow into something. There's a time for the harvesting. Once you've let those ideas really grow, take root, and turn into something, then you can pluck the fruit from that and you can celebrate it and you can savor it. And there is always a time for rest. And this is I learned this myself and I see it in so many women and clients around the world. We do not take the time to rest. And I want to check your ideas about this. What are your feelings and thoughts about rest? Originally, I thought rest was just a waste of time. I could be planting, I could be growing, I could be harvesting, I could be teaching a lesson, I could be doing something right now. And our culture really has taught us that. We've only taken a select part of the year-long view of things. It's like we're living in that summer energy and just always creating. But the rest is important. To use the metaphor of planting a field, if you constantly planted the field over and over and over again, it would have less and less nutrients in the soil. That field needs to be left fallow. It needs to be resting. The world needs the winter months, if you are in either of the extreme parts of the hemispheres. It needs that rest. And so do you, dear one. We need that rest, and it is not a waste of time. That rest is a vital component of being rich and ready for the next season. Your rest is essential. On a weekly, monthly, and annual basis, we need rest so that we can grow and thrive. It is essential. So taking the seasonal and lifelong view, looking at your work as a grand, lifelong work, and recognizing all the parts of the seasons and celebrating each and every one of them. So that's the first key to really filling your well. The second key to filling your well is being in community. This conference, for example, connecting with women from around the world. It's far too easy to isolate and to separate and to feel like you are the only one. And from that place, your challenges are greater than they need to be. And your triumphs aren't celebrated as much as they could be. We need community. We need mentors. We need guides. We need people to compare with, not in the comparison against of like, oh, this is where, that's not community. Okay, I'm alone and I'm looking out here at what everybody else is doing. That's an unhealthy sort of comparison. But in community, when we can sit and listen to others' experiences and recognize how much we are all going through the same stuff. Every week I hold a women's circle. Women get together. We share safely and honestly about what we're going through. That can be in work and relationships, in our bodies, in our minds, everything. And women come to me every week. Oftentimes I hear, I didn't think I was going to come. I was sort of in this mood or this funk, and I didn't want to bring that into the circle. And as soon as I got there, I heard that somebody else either was going through what I was going through, and I didn't feel so alone, or I heard where somebody else, where I could contribute to something somebody else was creating or needing. And so every time we come together, we recognize our synchronicities, our intricately connectedness, because we are like cells in one great organism. But when we think that we're all alone, the work that we're doing, the grand scale life work that we're doing, feels insurmountable. When we're trying to do it all alone, We are feeding into that energy that I talked about earlier, that the more valuable the work that I'm doing is, the more I'm doing it alone. Or the more valuable the work that I'm doing, the more that it takes out of me. That we somehow feel the reward comes from self-sacrifice and from isolation, and it does not. It absolutely does not. So I want you to check your beliefs and see where you think reward comes from, or the benefit of the work that you're doing. You do not have to do this all alone. More and more over the last number of years, I have been finding a wealth of knowledge and resources and support in finding community, either a community of peers or a community of mentors, looking towards people who are practicing what it is that I know I want to learn how to do, and spending my time with them, surrounding myself with them. So finding that community for yourself, creating, cultivating that community. When I first recognized that I needed a women's circle, I looked for one and I couldn't find one. So I made one. If you want to know how to connect with a women's circle, let me know. If you want to know how to make your own women's circle so that you can sit together, let me know. I can support you in all of this because community is so important. And honestly, finding a mentor. Find someone who can teach you what she's been learning, who can help you really channel your gifts so that they're not wasted and so that you don't burn out, because we can't have that. And so first key is the seasonal view, the lifelong work. The second key is community, finding your people, cultivating that group of people who will support you and celebrate you, who will sing your praises from mountaintops and will hold you when you are struggling, because you'll struggle. This is part of the human experience, certainly part of leadership, because we are out in front. We're doing things that don't come with roadmaps. We're doing things that have never been done before. And so we need to find people who will support us in the highs and the lows of all of that. And the third thing, the third key to filling your well first is enjoying the little things. If you're thinking of your work as a lifelong mission, that does not mean you have to wait until your life is over before you can savor some of it. So when I'm talking about the little things, one of the things that I teach my clients and my community is this concept of a micro shift. And so the micro shift is, instead of the biggest thing that you can do for yourself or towards your goal on any particular day or week, what is the smallest thing that you can do for yourself or towards your goal in a single day? And a micro shift means so small. It's microscopic. What is the smallest thing? And the reason I ask the smallest thing, and usually, something that needs to take less than 3 minutes. What can I do today for myself or for my effort towards my world vision? What can I do in 3 minutes or less today? And the reason it needs to be micro is because if it's too big, like I said earlier, if it's too big, maybe you can work on it for a day or two, but you're not going to see the results and you're going to lose heart, or you're going to give up on it. If it's small, it's so small, it's easy to do. And then it's easy to do again and again and again. And grand things come from the smallest intentions added up, okay? And so enjoy the little things. Both enjoy them when they come, but also put your attention towards creating micro shifts in your life. So what does enjoying the little things mean? For example, I have been at home in 24/7 quarantine here in Colombia with my 5-year-old daughter for over 2 months. And we're probably going to be at it for a little bit longer, or a lot longer. I could be stuck in all sorts of experiences around that. But what I try to do is every day get into that moment, whatever the moment happens to be, and enjoy and savor one component of that day. Maybe I'm looking at her while she's coloring and I can just feel that love, okay? There are so many myriad ways that I can actually give examples of my daughter, and I don't want to give them all because we'll be here forever. But I want you to think, close your eyes, take a deep breath. What is something that you can enjoy today? The way I just talked about micro shifts, there are also micro celebrations. That can be savoring the first bite of something. Let all of the flavors ride around on your tongue. Let the textures really soak in so that you can feel the moment. Because when we're working on making the future different, it's easy to get lost in that big grand vision in the future, and everything feels out there. So the last key is really being in the moment and savoring it. Enjoy the little things. And this may sound contradictory, but I mean it with the deepest of intention as well. I want you to enjoy the struggle too. I want you to enjoy the discontent. I need you to notice it and savor it, because when we're not noticing where it's hard to be, we're also not going to notice the pleasure. And it's important to notice both. That is the full spectrum of the human experience. And I know that sounds strange, but it really is key. So enjoy it all. When my daughter's having a meltdown, she's tired, she's hungry, I'm like, okay, we are having a full meltdown. I'm noticing this. I'm appreciating this, because I know in 15 minutes you're going to be laughing and giggling on the floor. So it's not selecting these things are good and these things are bad and I don't want them. Enjoy it all. Savor all the little details. So there are many ways to wrap this all up together. There are many ways that you can fill your well first. The three that I've shared, the seasonal view, the building the community and feeling really connected, and the enjoying the little things, those are elements that I think that are tangible enough that you can implement today, tomorrow, next week. Because I want you to live a life of fulfillment. That is my thing. That's my groove. Every single one of you, on some level, this may sound threatening, and it did to me in the beginning too. What's more important, that you live your life to the fullest, or that you create the future that you're working towards? And if you think that creating the future that you're working towards is worth it, if you can't also have fulfillment, I really want you to dig into that and check that belief. If your belief of your leadership towards building a valuable or meaningful future should come at your own expense, then you're going to be living that way, and you're going to be giving from an empty well. I believe you can do it both. I believe that you can be living fulfilled, you can flourish, you can be happy, you can take time off. And in fact, I know that when you do that, your vision for the future, what you're creating, what you're leading, it comes not only easier, it comes faster, and it comes more genuinely and beautifully into the world. Because when we're tired, when we're exhausted, when we're resentful, that oozes into what we're creating, okay? You are the future makers. By your leadership, by your choices, you are change makers. You are creating something. So it's so important, through your actions, or even lack of actions, whatever you decide to do, whichever path you choose, you are making the future. You're making the future. And I want to live in a future, I want to live in a world where my daughter, where she knows that she's valuable, where she counts, and that she's only going to give when her well is overflowing. I want her to know that, and I want you to know that. So give this vision. I want to take an idea with you. Plant a seed, if you will. Planting a seed in your mind, in your heart, of living in a world where every woman, especially every woman, is giving from an overflowing well, where her needs are met, where she is satiated and satisfied, where she is joyful, and that she's building and creating and loving from an abundant place. If anything that I've shared with you here today has either sparked your curiosity, gotten you really excited about figuring out how you can navigate through any sense of discontent or disconnection that you have with yourself, or even your vision of your own leadership or what you're trying to create, I want to talk to you. I want you to tune in a minute and ask me questions. I want you to reach out to me afterwards, because that's what this conference is all about. It is about connecting. If we were in the same room, we would be talking. And now that we're doing this virtually, I want you to reach out to me. I have some actually incredibly special offers. If anyone is in this conference and you reach out to me, I have some incredible gifts for you that I want to continue to share with you. So reach out to me, ask me a question in a minute, and I can't wait to talk to you, because I feel and I believe in what it is that you're creating. I just want to make sure that you're creating that from this constant, gifted, abundant place, and that your gifts to the world don't take it out of your inside love and light. Thank you so much for your time. I'm really honored to be here, and I can't wait to hear from you in a minute. Ask me a question, tell me anything. Thanks so much.